right, my name is Jakub. I came from Warsaw, and I'm co-founder of Dealavo. We're an e-commerce tool. We monitor prices in the internet, and we sell this information to webshop owners and to other e-commerce players. And I tell you about this because in the process of gathering this product and prices information, we gathered quite a lot data from the internet. And when you have a lot of data, you can try to get some interesting insights from this data. And I will show you some of these insights during this presentation. So the subject of the presentation is what prices are doing when you don't work. And it's quite funny because like a month ago, my head of sales came to me and he was like, there is a Meet Magento conference we can participate. And by the way, I picked the subject and we will tell about price changes during the weekend. And I was like, but we don't really know if there is price changes during the weekend. And he was like, come on, everyone knows this, right? I was like, okay, it's your idea, you will present. And somewhere about 2 weeks ago, he came to me and he was like, Kuba, we have no idea. Like, we have no idea what to tell these people, right? I was like, okay, Kamil, I can fix it, but if I prepare the presentation and the data, I'm the one who is presenting, you don't come. He was like, okay. So yeah. And disclaimer at the beginning, everything what I'm presenting you, I'm quite sure what I'm saying, but in the end, it isn't full scientific research. So I want to tell you that it wasn't peer reviewed, and by no means it's any meaningful statistical proof for hypothesis. And hypothesis was that Polish web shops change their prices according to weekday. How many of you are involved in e-commerce here? I guess like most of you, right? And how do you think? Do they do this or not? Any ideas? All right, I don't see any ideas, so I guess that you have no idea also. We are involved in e-commerce for some time, and we hear a lot from our clients that web shops do this, but we didn't have any meaningful proof for this. So to do this, I had to choose some methodology. Of course, the first approach was just to, get all the prices from database by some SQL query and, group the query by weekday and check what's going on. But the answer wasn't meaningful. 1 month it was like Wednesday was the most pricey day. Other days were most pricey, and it wasn't meaningful to me. So I had to narrow the scope of this experiment. So I've chosen the product mix consisting of some products of consumer electronic brands. And then I found the web shops which are selling these products. And I narrowed the experiment to only these products and to these web shops. And all right, it's the raw data exported from SQL, but it looks pretty, but it isn't meaningful in any way. So first thing I did, I tried to compare pricing policies of different web shops. And on this graph, on the vertical axis, you see on the left vertical axis, you see there is where blue bars belong to, and it is coefficient of variance. So basically, it can be interpreted as how big in terms of average value of change, prices change in given web shops. And on right vertical axis, you see number of changes of given single product on average during the month. So you see that it's like quite big differences in pricing policies among different web shops, right? For example, you see that Morelenet, they are changing prices the most, like more than 3 times a month for every given product, right? So it is quite a big number of price changes. And in turn, there is Computronic, which also is above 3, but in turn, they have very small variance coefficient, which basically can be interpreted as they change prices very often, but in the end, the price stays the same. So probably they change price only just a fraction of a percent or something like that. And other funny thing that you can notice from this graph is, for example, two shops of the same owner, neonet.pl and neo24.pl. It's basically the same company. And you see that they have exactly the same pricing policy, because like variance coefficient and number of price changes is the same. And you see also the big players, like for example, you see MediaMarkt, and basically you see that they have close to known pricing policy, because like they change price of given product only less often than once a week, and price changes in terms of value change aren't that big also. So second approach was to compare pricing policies of given shops, and Neo24 and Neonet was the first pick, because they had exactly the same pricing policy in general. And on this graph you see average price normalized to zero. So zero level on vertical axis is average monthly price, and on horizontal axis you see number of days back. So 0 is today and minus 30 is month back. So basically you see that in general they have same pricing policy, but prices on the same products differ. So it isn't really surprising, because if you have two web shops and you are the same company, you don't create two different web shops just to sell on the same prices. You want to differentiate those prices and those brands. So it isn't surprising at all. Okay, what's next? We have Morele.net and Computronic. On this graph, I shown you that Morele.net and Computronic has quite similar comparable pricing policies. So big number of changes and not very big value changes of those products. So comparing them, nothing relevant here, right? So you see that pricing policy in general maybe is the same, but average price, you see from this chart that Morele is much more aggressive. They change prices more often, and it's noticeable. In turn, Computronic, they change prices a lot, but in the end, prices stay at the very same level during the entire month. What's next? Two different shops from the same company, Euro.com.pl and Ole. They didn't even have comparable pricing policy on the first graph, and you see here that prices change differently. But do you notice anything suspicious on this chart in terms of data? Think about for a second that you are a data scientist. Do you see something suspicious? An idea? All right. So two different comparisons. You see Euro.com.pl and Agito.pl. But still, it is something wrong on this chart. Do you guys remember the movie Hunt for the Red October? There is a scene where echolocation guy comes to the captain, and he says that he recorded some strange signal. And onboard computer qualified this signal as a Magma displacement. But what was suspicious to this guy was that this signal is too regular, and he played it, and it was like very regular noise. And he was like, it can't be Magma displacement because it's too regular. It has to be man-made. So what we see on this graph is that Euro.com.pl chart is kind of regular. You see those at least three big peaks in regular fashion. So what comes up? I tried to check what days are those peaks. And it comes up that it is Sunday, right? So after all, we found one of web shops which is changing their prices on for the weekends, right? So hypothesis is proven for at least one web shop. But the other thing is that we tested like 8 web shops, all right? And out of 8, only one is changing prices for the weekends. And the other thing is that from this graph, I didn't prove it. I didn't count correlation of these two graphs. But what I can suspect, and what I see on this graph is that Agito is kind of following prices of Euro. But with the following, there is a problem. When you grab the prices, they can change in the other shop. So basically, when you grab the prices and you try to set exactly same prices in your web shop, you're already lagging behind. You are delayed. So what we see here is Euro.com is rising their prices for Sunday, and Agito is kind of following. I'm not sure, but from this graph it looks like they are following, but they are following day or 2 days after. So what they are really doing, they are rising their prices for Tuesday. So in terms of business, it may have no sense, right? And what's the problem with all of this data? Like, I believe that most people in this room are involved in e-commerce. And also I believe that most of shop owners or any other IT guys involved in e-commerce, that you were kind of surprised by this. Like Kamil, my head of sales, he was like, everyone knows something, but I was like, I can't go to the bunch of technical guys and tell them that everyone knows something. We have to prove it somehow, right? So the thing is that we don't really know things like that. Do you know the quote on the screen? A big data company masquerading as a gaming company. It was said by vice president of Zynga. They are a gaming company. They create games for Facebook. But in the end, they talk about themselves as big data company. And why is that? Because they create games, but these games wouldn't be so successful if they weren't analyzing their data, their customers' behavior, and so on. So can we be successful in e-commerce without analyzing our data? Sure, probably most of you are analyzing your side of the market with Google Analytics or click-through rates, cost per click, and so on. But we don't know what's going on the market. And for example, how many of you know when price can be the biggest? And besides, there are strong rumors that Amazon is coming to Poland, and if they will come with all of their technical stuff, I'm sure that they know this, right? So something needs to be done. And it's said that big data is the oil of 21st century. And right now, big data and machine learning is a kind of buzzword, and everyone says that they have big data and that they are doing machine learning, but back in times, big data and machine learning was called just a statistics, right, and analytics. And it's not a rocket science. You can do it just with Excel spreadsheet, like everything what I shown you. Sure, I have data from Dealavo, from our system, but in the end, everything I showed you could be gathered. You could pay a student to grab prices for 1 month from 8 web shops, and you could do this in Excel, right? So the thing is that if we want, as e-commerce players, and let's be honest, not that big as Amazon or Allegro or anyone else, if we want to compete against them, we have to do something, right? And what can we do? First, we have to educate yourself. First thing is to know that there is a need to analyze to analyze not only your side of the business, but analyze entire market. Look what competition is doing, right? For example, we can monitor Amazon and see what they are doing, and we don't have to research for ourselves if it is good to raise prices on Sunday or not. We can just follow the big guys. They already know it. And we have to embrace data-driven approach. So what is data-driven? Sometimes, it is quality of good leaders that they can make decisions instantly. But mostly instant decisions are based just on some kind of intuition. And good decision should have base in some real data, some real analysis. So we have to remember in our business decisions that everything which we have intuition about may or may not be true. Like we had intuition that web shops are changing prices for the Sunday, but we didn't know that. And in the end, we found one who is doing it, but other 7 weren't doing it. So if we were to bet on this, we would lose. So we have to embrace data-driven approach and not act on intuition, but act on some analysis and market research, KPIs, and so on. And the good thing is that there is really lots of tools closing the gap between like regular businesses and the big players like Amazon or Allegro. They have their own big data team. But you can find many analytical tools like Google Analytics is for free. You have Mixpanel from States. They are doing a very good job, and they cost like $10 a month, so it's totally in the reach of regular web shop. And if you want to compete against these big players, not just follow them and sell what they don't want to sell, we have to do something and embrace data-driven approach and be more analytical, because that's how they work and that's how it works. Okay, I promised that I will make it quick, so do you have any questions? All right, if no, thank you.